This is Dr. John Wycoff with Pathways to Wellness with yours truly, Dr. John Wycoff. This is another episode where we try to find the functional and integrative medical approach to chronic health issues. Today's topic is autoimmune diseases, and this is rampant in this country. So we're going to go through a little bit about why autoimmune disease is so prevalent in our medical system right now, how you can get the diagnosis, what you can do, how we can empower you to take charge of this to treat and the symptoms of your current issue and maybe prevent other diseases from starting. So I'm Dr. John Wycoff, board-certified family physician. I am the founder and the CEO of the Wycoff Wellness Center in East Lansing, Michigan. I encourage you to find us either on the web at wycoffwellness.com, WYCOFF wellness.com, or listen to my all my podcasts, or some of them, at wherever you listen to podcasts, Pathway to Wellness with Dr. John Wycoff. Well, today I'm going to show you a book, and I think, Alex, are we able to zoom in on that book just a little bit so we can get a quick peek at that? Yes, we got a shot of that. This is an excellent book. It's called The Autoimmune Fix by Dr. Tom O'Brien. It's Dr. O'Brien is a chiropractic physician, knows more about autoimmune disease than any physician I ever have noticed or have ever been trained by or talked to. The subtitle of the book is How to Stop the Hidden Autoimmune Damage That Keeps You Sick, Fat, and Tired Before It Turns into Disease. Dr. O'Brien goes through in a very readable book, chapter after chapter, of how to get ahead of this disease, how to understand the problem, and how to fix it in simple nut to bolt or soup to nuts protocol. So it's about 10 chapters, easy read. I encourage you to get this on Amazon.com, probably $15. The Autoimmune Fix by Tom O'Brien, DC. So what is autoimmunity? Well, autoimmunity is when our body mounts an immune response against ourselves. Auto, meaning self. Now, we have an immune system. The immune system is designed to protect us from foreign invaders, whether it's a bacteria or a virus or a fungus or whatever it is. Our immune system is designed to help fight that problem and keep us from getting sick. That's what's supposed to happen. But when you have an autoimmune disease, your immune system turns around and starts fighting itself. It can fight your joints. We call that rheumatoid arthritis. It can cause problems with your skin and internal organs. We sometimes call that systemic lupus. It can cause you to get psoriasis and attack your joints, psoriatic arthritis. It can attack the white matter of your brain. We call that multiple sclerosis. It can attack your intestinal system. We sometimes call that Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis. It can attack your thyroid. We call that autoimmune thyroiditis or Hashimoto's disease. So there are many manifestations of autoimmunity in patients. And unfortunately, when you have one autoimmune disease, you're more likely to have a second autoimmune disease. So what do you need to get an autoimmune disease? Well, we're going to break it down for you. You need three things. You have to have a genetic predisposition. You have to have some bad genes. So one of your parents or both of your parents gave you the genetic predisposition to an autoimmune disease. Doesn't mean you're going to get the disease. That's only one of three factors. The second factor is you must have intestinal permeability, something called leaky gut syndrome. We're going to talk a lot about that in just a minute. And the third thing is you have to have a trigger, some environmental trigger. It could be a virus, a bacteria. It could be a food, something. It could be stress. Some trigger causes this to express itself as a disease. So as a take-home point, three things needed for an autoimmune disease: genetic predisposition, intestinal permeability, environmental trigger, altogether can provoke an autoimmune reaction. And why is this really important? Well, if we look at the incidence of diseases that are autoimmune in nature, whether it's multiple sclerosis, Crohn's, type 1 diabetes, or asthma, they've been skyrocketing since the 60s and 70s. They're just on a linear rise up where they were flat for decades before. Why is that? Well, interesting thought. I've got my own thoughts about the food industry and the pharma industry. Maybe we can talk more about that as the show goes on. But the incidence of these diseases are just skyrocketing. You probably know someone in your family or an acquaintance who has multiple sclerosis or Crohn's disease, diabetes, asthma. They are becoming real issues. In autoimmune diseases, the biological onset precedes the development of clinical symptoms, oftentimes by months or years, meaning you can find markers in your bloodstream before you get disease. This could be an ANA antibody, a rheumatoid arthritis antibody, thyroid antibodies, antibodies to gluten, grains. So oftentimes you just get the right testing to know if you're at risk of developing autoimmunity. But as I said before, you have to have those three things: bad genes, intestinal permeability, and a trigger, environmental trigger. Oftentimes that trigger involves the gut being leaky gut syndrome, or intestinal permeability syndrome, is where that lining of your gut, the barrier is disrupted, much like holes in a cheesecloth. Many of you know, if you're an older person, you know what a cheesecloth is. It's cloth that was used to filter cheese in the production process. It's very much akin to a coffee filter in your coffee machine. If you put grounds of coffee into a coffee filter and then pour water through, you get coffee, hot water through it. Well, if you were to take a knife and put little slits in the bottom of the coffee filter, some of the coffee grounds are going to go through the filter when you're making the coffee. Your coffee is not going to be very good. Those slits are akin to leaky gut syndrome. So if you have little slits in the cheesecloth or slits in the coffee filter, your gut will leak. And that loss of protective barrier can be due to a lot of things. We'll talk about that. It's been discussed in the literature for over 100 years. What causes the injury? Foods, probably processed foods and chemicals, medications, maybe an infection, certain bacteria, viruses, fungi, loss of digestive enzymes, which occurs in all of us as we get older. But when that permeability occurs, food goes from the intestinal lumen, the lining of the intestine, the one thin layer of the endothelium to keep everything inside, moves into the bloodstream. That starts a process of provoking inflammation. So people say, well, inflammation, is that all bad? No. If you have a cut, you need inflammation for it to heal. If you have a broken bone, inflammation helps speed the healing process. What's bad is excessive inflammation. So autoimmunity often starts in the gut. The problem is in the gut, but oftentimes it manifests in the brain. Your brain is on fire. You have anxiety, depression, bipolar disorder, schizophrenia, trouble sleeping, mood changes. So if you're having some of those, think about your gut as the problem. And, you know, I'm a guy, I like certain quotes, and there's a couple quotes that I came across that really pertain to autoimmune diseases. The first is by one of my favorite authors, Arthur Schopenhauer. He says that all truth passes through three phases. First, truth is ridiculed. Second, truth is vehemently opposed. And then truth is accepted as self-evident. You know, at one time we believed the earth was flat. The respected scholars hundreds of years ago thought the earth was flat, and there's still people that believe the earth is flat. But by and large, we tend to accept the fact that the earth is round. Now, that truth was ridiculed, then opposed, but now it's accepted. When I was in medical school, we were taught that ulcer disease in the stomach was due to too much acid. A researcher said, I don't think that's right. I think it's due to a bacterial infection, Helicobacter pylori. He had to drink a bunch of bacteria and get ulcers to prove the point. Ulcers had nothing to do with excessive acid, but everything to do with Helicobacter pylori infection. If you ask a medical student today, what is the cause of most gastric ulcers? He wouldn't miss a beat and say, well, of course, Dr. Wycoff, is due to an overgrowth or an infection of Helicobacter pylori, and the treatment is antibiotics. Now, that was ludicrous when I was in training 40 years ago. So my other quote is from a movie I really like, City of Angels, Nicolas Cage and Meg Ryan. Some things are true whether you believe them or not. And I think that is so true about many parts of life. Some things are just true. You don't have to believe them for it to be true. So let's talk more about autoimmune disease. If you really want to get ahead of the game, all you got to do is read Time Magazine, 1984, a cover, Secret Killer, Inflammation, the underlying link with heart disease, cancer, dementia, and autoimmune disease. So Time Magazine knew this years ago. So almost 40 years ago. So intestinal permeability is what causes part of this problem. The gut lining is compromised by things like medication, stress, chemicals, infection, neurotransmitters. Food can penetrate into the bloodstream, evoke an immune reaction, and start the autoimmune process. We can test you for autoimmunity. We can look at the junctions between the endothelial cells, something called zonulin. We work with a company called Cyrex Laboratories. I'd encourage you to Google them at Cyrex, C-Y-R-E-X, labs.com. You can see the array of testing they offer. Blood tests that can oftentimes define food allergies, autoimmune antibodies, leaky gut issues. But you don't need to have tests. You can go by symptoms. Well, what symptoms are you going to see with leaky gut and autoimmune diseases? Chronic fatigue, food allergies or sensitivity, seasonal allergies, joint or muscle pain, arthritis, eczema, skin rashes. You may have trouble with nutritional deficiencies if you've been tested, recurrent infections, headaches, especially migraines, insomnia, GI symptoms, anxiety, depression. So those are common symptoms associated with leaky gut syndrome and autoimmune problems. You also see just problems with allergies, asthma, autism, eczema, inflammatory bowel disease, rheumatoid arthritis, systemic inflammatory response syndrome, type 1 diabetes, and more. Those are common diseases that have a link with autoimmune processes. 7 signs that I sometimes see: food allergies, autoimmune diseases, chronic inflammatory skin conditions, nutrient deficiencies, probably due to malabsorption and leaky gut issues, chronic GI symptoms, although you can have leaky gut and have no GI symptoms, but if you're having reflux, indigestion, gas, excessive flatulence, abdominal pain, think about leaky gut as the problem. Thyroid problems, hypothyroidism. If you have hypothyroidism, if you're a female especially, you probably have Hashimoto's problem, Hashimoto's disease. It's autoimmune disease. You need to get Dr. O'Brien's book, The Autoimmune Fix. Get this, read it, understand the disease, and get on that path to health and wellness naturally. If you got mood changes, if you have ADHD, ADD, autism, think about autoimmunity. If you have unexplained weight gain, especially weight gain around your belly button to your hips, oftentimes it's an autoimmune issue or a leaky gut issue. So take charge of this. Another thing that we often do in our practice at Wycoff Wellness in East Lansing, where we try to get to the root causes, we do a methylation panel. Methylation is a process of detoxification and making energy. So we're trying to find, again, that root cause, that upstream effect that may be causing the symptoms that you're having. So a methylation panel is a way to maybe define some of the causes that you're not looking for or thinking about with your autoimmune disease. A methylation panel is a once-in-a-lifetime test. It's under $400. We work with Genova Diagnostics, but there are other companies that do this. Ours is a blood test and a swab from the inside of your mouth. If you live outside the area, we can arrange to get a kit to you and use. You can go to Quest Labs or a local lab and get this done. So learn more about what we bring to the table at our website, wycoffwellness.com, WYCOFF wellness.com. Hop on and listen to this podcast. And really, a lot of the podcasts that we do are very much intertwined. We try to put them in a separate box and wrap them up nicely. But really, when you deal with integrative functional medicine, all these problems are interrelated. They are integrated. So just because we're talking about autoimmune disease and leaky gut syndrome today, that has as much to do with insulin resistance and hormone imbalance and in most of the other talks that I have on my podcast. So wherever you find podcasts, share the information with those you care for, friends and family. Health and Pathway to Wellness with Dr. John Wycoff. You can find us wherever you listen to your podcast. So once we kind of got an idea that leaky gut is an issue, and believe me, if you tell your doctor you have leaky gut syndrome, they're going to roll their eyes and either they've not heard of it or they think you're an absolute nut. But this is a real problem. There are things you can do. And we're going to talk now about some ways to heal the gut, because there are things that you can start to do today if you have an autoimmune disease to get your gut in better shape, to heal and start a process, a functional integrated process to get healthy. And we call the process the 5R process to heal the gut. 5 R's are remove, replace, repair, rebalance, and retain. So what are we going to remove? We're going to remove medications you don't need, like antacids, proton pump inhibitors, other GI-related medications. We're going to look for infection, try to control stress. We may want to do testing. You know, one of the things that Wycoff Wellness brings to the table in our integrative and functional medicine practice is I have a bigger toolbox. I can test you for RAS testing for foods, food sensitivities. We can check the Cyrex laboratory test, cyrexlabs.com, CYREX labs.com. We can do elimination diet. We can check your stool for infection and digestion. We can talk about stress. So we're going to try to remove those things. Maybe you do have candida. Candida is yeast. Maybe we've got to treat the yeast, remove the yeast. We can do that with natural botanicals, probiotics. Sometimes we have to add antifungals like diflucan or nystatin, but we can do that in a safe way. So just because I'm an integrative functional doctor doesn't mean I don't prescribe medications. I prescribe medications when they are appropriate to help us restore function. That's what functional medicine is about. So we're going to try to remove barriers that we have that may be damaging your gut. We're going to replace with healing foods. We're going to get you on a better diet, a plant-based diet. We're going to try to get you to buy meat that is organic, especially chicken and beef. Those are just poison if they're not organic. Free-range eggs, wild-caught fish, and to get away from eating out. Get away from sugar, grains, dairy. Foods that have folic acid in them. Folic acid is added to all grains, whether it's rice, wheat, rye, barley, oats. Get away from those foods. Avoid excessive alcohol. Eat more refined, eliminate refined, sugar-rich foods. Fiber-poor foods. Eat foods that are low in sugar, high in fiber. Avoid antacids and avoid excessive antibiotics. If you need antibiotics, use them, treat your infection, but ask the doctor, do I really need this? You know, sometimes the doctor feels obligated going with respiratory symptoms, runny nose, cough, congestion. They just feel obligated to do something, put you on a Z-Pak or amoxicillin when they know you probably have a virus. Well, if you have a virus, then treat it supportively. Find out what you can do to enhance your immunity with more vitamin D and supplements that have mushroom extracts and zinc and vitamin C instead of just jumping to an antibiotic. We talked about eating whole, unprocessed, nutritious foods, organic grass-fed beef, wild-caught fish. Eat olives, nuts, avocados, use coconut oil, and drink plenty of filtered water. You can have bone broth. That's another great food to heal your gut. It contains collagen and amino acids to assist healing. You can have raw cultured dairy. You've got to be comfortable with having dairy that's not pasteurized. But you can sometimes get that with kefir and certain yogurts, butter and certain cheeses. Fermented vegetables, I really like those as a prebiotic. Fermented vegetables like sauerkraut, kimchi, kvass, also very helpful for healing the gut. Coconut products, because they contain medium chain fatty acids. Sprouted seeds like chia seeds, flaxseed, hemp seed, excellent for healing the gut. And we want to start that process of healing the gut. We want to repair the gut. Certain foods like blue agave plant extracts, bananas, onions, asparagus, leeks, artichokes, especially Jerusalem artichokes, coconut oil, coconut water, repair your gut lining. Those are simple things you can do. And then we can repair the gut. There's an array of supplements that reduce inflammation in your gut, but I'm going to give you my 5 top ones, which I try to get everyone on. One is called L-glutamine. Glutamine is an amino acid that helps heal the endothelial lining. It can be taken in a powder or a capsule. We partner with a company called Metagenics. They have a product called Glutagenics, which is superior for healing the gut. You can get that at our store in office in East Lansing or online anywhere across the world at wycoffwellness.com, WYCOFF wellness.com. Just click on the Shop Now or store link, and you'll go to our online store. It'll link you up, and you'll have the products in 2 to 3 days. So L-glutamine, a great product. Colostrum extracts. The one I like is from Orthomolecular. It's called Transfer Factor. Colostrum is an extract from breast milk. This is from cow's breast milk. And very, very natural, very helpful for the gut. And this is part of why babies that are born by C-section, where the amniotic membrane did not break, they struggle because they don't get colostrum like they should, and oftentimes they don't nurse from the mom. So that first milk, colostrum, is really helpful for the gut. In utero, they need the bacteria from the vagina and during birth, and then they need the colostrum from the first mother's milk to really get their gut healthy. Vitamin D3, very important. Enough vitamin D3. Check your level of vitamin D3. Have your doctor get a blood test. Needs to be at least 50 nanograms per ml. 80 to 100 is probably goal. You need a good multivitamin that's methylated with methylfolate and methyl B12. A multivitamin mineral supplement, the one we recommend at our office is called Phyto Multi. Comes in a caplet or a capsule or a tablet. And last thing is omega-3 fatty acids, fish oil. I really like Omega-Genics EPA DHA 720. Again, all available today at our office in East Lansing, 1226 Michigan Avenue, or online at wycoffwellness.com. So those are my big 5: glutamine, colostrum, D3, multivitamin, mineral, and omega-3 fatty acids. But some of the smaller ones that you can consider is quercetin, phosphatidylcholine, licorice root, zinc, B12, and just adding more fiber. We can help you with the dosing, but get on those right supplements to try to get yourself feeling better. I'll give you some quick pearls on dosing. Glutamine, 3,000 to 6,000 milligrams per day. Colostrum, 1,000 milligrams twice a day. D3, average adult, 5,000 IUs daily. You can easily take 2,000 IUs per 100 pounds of body weight, and even children can be dosed appropriately by weight. And omega-3 fatty acids, 3,000 to 4,000 milligrams of DHA, EPA a day. So we've gone through repair. Let's talk about rebalance. Prebiotics, fermented foods I spoke about earlier, vegetables, kombucha, kefir, kimchi are all great prebiotics. Get on a probiotic, strain-specific probiotics. Your probiotic label should say something like NCFM or BI-07. Metagenics makes, I think, the best probiotics you can get. They have a variety of them. Metagenics Acute Care, Metagenics Ultraflora IB. So get on our website at wycoffwellness.com. Probiotics will come to you refrigerated in ice pack, overnight shipped, and you want to keep in the refrigerator to retain potency. They're very important that you get refrigerated probiotics. So the last R is retain. You have to keep working on this forever. You try to control your stress, get sleep, adequate sleep, exercise regularly, reduce your stress. You can indulge a little bit. You can have a little red wine. You can have some nuts. Fresh almonds are excellent for leaky gut syndromes. As I said, a little red wine can be used occasionally. It has less sugar than white wine. And chocolate, especially the intense dark chocolate, greater than 70% cacao, may actually improve some of the antibodies that are functioning in your gut and improve leaky gut problems. So the elephant in the room is, how do you reintroduce foods if you have leaky gut problems? It's a challenge. There's no best way. You can be retested with food antibodies, RAS testing. We do that with a blood test in our office for 88 foods, up to 500 foods, depending on the panel we get. But the bottom line is that some people with leaky gut problems may never be able to reintroduce some foods. You just have to stay off of them forever. So my final thoughts, leaky gut is a real issue. You need to identify it, find a doctor who understands it, find an integrative functional physician like me in East Lansing. We can hook up with a consultation on the phone or Zoom, or you can come by the office and we can follow you up by phone or Zoom as needed. Leaky gut can be treated. Learn about the 5R program. We try to provide education and support to our patients, appropriate supplementation and follow-up, and get a copy of The Autoimmune Fix by Dr. Tom O'Brien. Get this, keep it. I reread this almost every month, and Dr. O'Brien has also got a website you can find by Googling his name. He's worked with Dr. Mark Hyman, another integrative functional medicine doctor that I know, and the two of them can really help you get on that path to health and wellness. This brings us to the end of another segment of Pathways to Wellness with Dr. John Wycoff. You can find more about us by going to our website at WYCOFF, Wycoff Wellness, oneword.com, or give us a call at our office at Wycoff Wellness Center, 1226 Michigan Avenue in East Lansing, at 517-333-7270, 333-7270, 800-471-0255, or find us and listen to our podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. The name of the podcast is Pathways to Wellness with Dr. John Wycoff.